I have some interesting new things to show you regarding mounts today, including some possible customization options, some information from Rod Ferguson for new Diablo players, some embarrassing Diablo 4 promotions that we got to take a look at, some class building templates that I found that are really awesome, and much more. And the first thing I wanted to look at with you guys is something that I noticed that I didn't quite catch in the last news video we did. It's going back to this ride into battle and look cool as hell doing it tweet that Diablo put out. Hopping in here, we're not going to sit through and watch the full thing, but I wanted to show a couple of parts in here that I saw that we weren't shown before. You may remember a couple days ago, we had a tweet come out that showed a lot of different types of mounts. I think they showed like 15 or 16 of them. There are some videos on YouTube that go through and like pause on each one and show them all to you. But here we do see a couple of new horse mounts, and I think we also see some of those customization options that we've kind of been hinted at before, but nobody's actually shown or talked about yet. One is this one right here. There's a sorceress riding this horse, and the horse has some, like, I guess you wouldn't call it armor, some type of like covering on, and this looks like it may be one of those customization options that you can get for your mount, meaning you're not just going to have your mount that you can ride and different looking mounts, but you can also customize the way the mounts look with different things that they're wearing. Also, I will point out, look at this like crazy looking, like, I don't know what this is, locust slash mantis slash like skeleton head creature chasing this dude. It's actually kind of like crazy looking. Next we have another mount right here. The druid is riding this one, and it kind of makes me think, what does this customization option look like? Is this a completely different mount to where you have this mount that has these big antlers on it like the druid already has on his head? Or is this a customization option, something like a helmet that you can put on any of your mounts? And this is one that's maybe specifically designed to go along with the druid, and it has the matching like horns to this armor set that the druid has on here. You see it a little bit closer right here. It's kind of hard to tell if it's just a normal horse or not. And also we see more of this like covering, right? This looks almost kind of like an armor here and here. I don't know that your horses can get hurt. I don't know if they've talked about this or not, but just another like unique look at what some of these customization options for the mounts look like. And then I believe we saw a couple of new looks of the mounts here as well. Here's one. It's kind of like a battle-torn horse. He's got some scars. He's not looking great. I don't believe this one was in the rotation we saw. I did look through. This one definitely was not in the rotation that we saw. Like a very like scaly, mythical looking kind of horse with some crazy like evil antlers to it, some red eyes. Very, very cool looking. And another one here, the ghostly mount. We have like an actual like phantom looking mount here. It's only on there for a few frames, so we don't get to look at it long, but it looks like it has this like translucent look to it, which is really cool. And I think this one right here is one that we'd already seen. And then something I'd heard from some other creators that maybe I'd missed this information out there in the wild, but it looks like when you dismount from your horse, you're not like dismounting with any particular skill that you may already have. It looks like you may actually have, whether it just be one or multiple unique class like dismount attacks. So when you dismount, you jump off, you do some type of attack. Who knows if these will have like skill points that you have to specialize into, if you just get like one by default and that's all it is, or if they can be affected by gear or anything like that. I guess that's something that we'll have to keep a lookout for in future updates here in terms of what exactly this is going to look like when you're playing the game. Next, we do have a series of videos that have been posted by Rod Ferguson on the Diablo Twitter account. Let's take a look at a few of these and see what kind of information that we're able to draw from them.
Giving you a D4 secret. Well, it's not really so much of a secret as people really haven't had access to it or seen much about it because of where it's placed. So every class has a specialization or a special mechanic unique to that class. And the druid is one of those. But the druid's specialization has to do about their druidic power and where that exists, which is in Scosglen, and Scosglen is outside of the beta that we recently had. And so not everyone has been able to see that specialization. And so I thought I'd just give you a brief glimpse into it. So the druid is able to gain these benefits by getting attuned to different animal spirits. So once you get to a high enough level, and once you make the trek to Scosglen, you'll be able to go, and as you're killing monsters, you're earning favor for those spirits. And when you return that favor to them, you begin to unlock different abilities that then you can put onto your druid. And so, you know, you have the Book of the Dead with the necromancer, and you have the enchantment system for the sorceress, and you have the weapon expertise system for the barbarian, and you have the the sort of unique combo skills that you have for the rogue. And so every class has their own one, but no one's really seen the druid one yet because it's outside of the beta. So hopefully you'll try the druid when you play Diablo 4 and, you know, take advantage of those spirit animals.
So it doesn't look like Rod's going to give us any actual information on what the druid's special abilities are, other than the fact that it has to do with like harnessing energy from like nature and like getting abilities that I guess somehow come through the like creatures that you control. I don't know what any of that means. I guess he's being purposely vague here, but he is right. We have not seen what this is yet, and it seems like you're not going to see it. You're not going to see it quite yet either. You're not going to be able to see it during the Server Slam event that's coming up. And we'll have to wait till full launch to see exactly what's going on with it. All right, next here we have another one from the Diablo account, Twitter account, and this one has to do with Rod Ferguson covering the end game. Let's see what Rod has to say.
Talking about the end game in Diablo 4, well, we're really excited that as part of the mainline Diablo games, Diablo 4 is the first to actually ship with a with an end game, you know, at launch. And what that really means is that's the time after you're done with the campaign, and there's a lot to do. We have a lot of things you can play. We have the Whispers of the Dead, which is essentially like a bounty system that you can go and collect bounties for big rewards. We have Helltide, which is where different parts of the map become much more difficult, but also have much greater rewards, and you can actually target the types of rewards you're looking for. We have Nightmare Dungeons, so there's over 100 dungeons in Sanctuary, and you can, through these sort of keys that we call sigils, you can get them to be harder and harder with different aspects that change how they play, the type of monsters, sort of different buffs and debuffs, and so it makes it really exciting to play, and you can keep going up and up and up, which again, the higher the difficulty, the higher the rewards. And then we also have PvP. So there are 2 fields of hatred in Sanctuary where you can go in and fight other players for you know, unique custom cosmetics, which is exciting. And all that sort of builds towards our level cap. So in the game, you have a cap of level 100, but and there's a boss waiting for you. So there's a level 100 boss that you have to prove that you can beat. And so part of that end game is building your way up so you can actually show your mastery of your class to be able to defeat that level 100 boss.
So we actually heard some interesting information here that I don't believe we've heard before. I don't know if you caught it. Before we get to that though, let's talk about, you know, something here with the end game that Rod was kind of referencing and referring to. So we've already known about a lot of the features that have to do with endgame, the fields of hatred, the PvP, the questing system. Like we've kind of already known about all those. All of those have existed for a while. They have not been hidden. We know about them. But some new information here is actually given. And that was that there is a level 100 boss at the end of the game that you have to defeat to kind of like prove yourself. I don't know what special reward is maybe locked behind this boss. And I don't know if this image, this like video reel I have up on screen, is this the boss? I don't know. This might be from like earlier footage that was shown, but this is kind of cool to know. There's a level 100 boss. It's like the final boss of the game that you have to beat to prove yourself. Now keep one thing in mind is the fact that they've already told us it's about 160 hours to get in gameplay from level 0 to level 100. That's a long way. So a lot of you guys, hopefully you're not locked out of that. Maybe you take one of your seasonal characters after a season is over and you go in and you finish leveling up to get to level 100 to experience this. But the fact that we have a cool challenge at the end that we didn't really know about before is honestly kind of awesome. And one other thing to point out that I think is very true is the fact that Diablo 4 is shipping with full end game content in place. See, I played Diablo 1, Diablo 2, and Diablo 3, and I played them all right at launch. And this end game content didn't exist for any of these when I was still playing them. So I'm kind of getting back into things now, getting to see this level of end game content for the first time as an old school Diablo player. And for them to be in the game at the beginning, I think it's going to be huge because it's going to take people that aren't used to this genre of game and are maybe trying it for the first time, or maybe people like myself that are used to this genre of game but haven't played them in a while. It's not only going to get us into it initially, but it's going to keep people like me into the game in the long term, because we're not going to hit a point of being bored because we have seasons, we have all these in-game systems to go through right away. And it's kind of good for him to point that out. And hopefully a lot of people are picking up on this that are thinking of picking up the game. And next here, I thought this one was important, especially for my audience, because I know I'm going to have a lot of people that are very new to the Diablo experience. And this is Rod Ferguson talking about that like first time player experience, or again, maybe that player experience for people that haven't haven't played Diablo in many, many years?
I mean, if I was a new player in Diablo, I think the big thing is just, Diablo is just fun. And what's great is that Diablo 4 takes place 50 years after Diablo 3. And so there's not that close a connection between the two games. So if you've never played a Diablo game before, Diablo 4 is a great one to start with. And really it's just about getting comfortable with what is the class you want to play. What's your power fantasy? Everybody has a power fantasy. Do I want to be a barbarian? Do I want to be a druid and master the elements and change into a or a werewolf? Or am I want to be a sorcerer with magic, mastering the elements, or a rogue? And so there's lots of things to play into that, but it's just fun to go through, and as you're playing and defeating monsters, you're getting more and more powerful. And so what you really want to do is walk through that skill tree, adding new skills and just having fun, defeating demons. So if I was a new player, that's really what you want to focus on. It's a really great hack and slash fun, dungeon crawling, killing demons, looking for powerful loot.
So there you have it. I thought that one was important to look at, and the fact that if you're new to Diablo or haven't played Diablo in a long time and don't really remember a lot of kind of what transpired in the previous games, it's cool to learn that stuff, and it can be fun to go down memory lane and go back and play the old versions of Diablo, but you don't have to. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. You can hop right into Diablo 4 day one and just have a good time. It's like a genuinely fun game to play, in my opinion anyways. And I think a lot of you will think that as well. And if you're looking for like guides and information and help along the way, make sure you join my Discord channel and follow my live streams and subscribe to the channel here to keep up to date with any kind of guides information that I put out there. So this one from Adam Fletcher, we slammed the servers next week, and we did have a question here. Do you know if the HDR upgrades will be implemented for this? And the answer to that is yes, some changes were made. So any of you that have HDR screens, HDR capable screens, I think especially PC is where the issue was. I don't think it was so much on like televisions on console. You should see some changes in there to improve the color quality of HDR. Also, just as a clarification, somebody did ask Adam Fletcher if your characters from the last two betas will be available. And the answer to that is no, they will not. This is a clean slate. You're starting from level 1 with everybody else and progressing through the game. Also keep in mind that loot drops are not anywhere near as high as they were before. During the last two beta weekends, the loot drops were somewhere around 300 to 500% higher, just to like get people loot in hand and try some of it out. That's not going to be the case this time. You're going to see a representation of what loot dropping will be like in the full launch of the game. And lastly, somebody did ask Adam Fletcher, to play in the beta weekend, do you have to be somebody that pre-ordered or purchased the game already? The answer to that is no. You can participate if you have not purchased the game. Use this time to try it out, people. I did go ahead and ask the developers a question. I asked, hey, it is shown several days ago we could skip the D4 campaign once we defeat it, which you guys confirmed. I didn't see though, this is per difficulty or a complete one and done thing. If I defeat the campaign on veteran, can I skip it on nightmare? Joseph Piapora did answer me and say, complete the campaign once on any difficulty or mode, and you can skip it from that point forward. Also worth pointing out that you can change your world tier difficulty at the character select screen or at the statue in Kyovashad whenever you like. So keep that in mind. If you ever get stuck, if it's ever too hard, you can defeat a story element of the game by dropping your difficulty down. But once you defeat the story once on any difficulty, you can then skip the story on all difficulties for the remainder of the time that you play Diablo. Next here, I wanted to get into a piece of slightly embarrassing and honestly pretty annoying news. This is from Kriparian, a longtime ARPG content creator and quite the professional, if I do say so myself. He has posted that later this month, KFC will have a D4 promo for in-game rewards for those that link their KFC accounts with Battle.net. How is this the thing? And buy chicken-related foods. I struggle to believe this is our reality. And like, other than the fact that this is just so funny and so crazy. I don't think a lot of people are going to like this method of them marketing their game, to where I have to like go on a treasure hunt of products and places to get unique loot that you can only get that way. Even if it's just cosmetics, I still think it's a terrible idea. I think it'd be okay if they wanted to do this and give away like cool cosmetics that you can otherwise find in the game. I mean, it's still kind of cheesy, but at least like you're not missing out, right? but it gives people the way to like, hey, yo, I can go get my KFC double down and I can get me this cool thing that I don't feel like farming for $100 for to hopefully maybe get, you know what I mean? So I'm okay with it that way at the very least, but just Diablo, Blizzard, Rod, whoever's making these decisions, can we not do this anymore? It's getting out of control. And this, I think this picture confirms that. Like, it's a little ridiculous. And then I had to go back in the bank for this one because I wanted to see if Riker had given any additional information from his like end game playthrough that maybe we hadn't seen yet or didn't come out at least like on a broader scale. And I did find something. Somebody had asked Riker is when you use the word Uber, like what exactly did he mean? Did he mean like an incredibly hard boss to defeat that is like leaps and bounds above like other types of like mob encounters that we've had? Or is it just more simple than that? And it seems like it's just more simple than that. Riker did clarify it's just a really tough boss. It's nothing that's like going to be super crazy, probably not like the capstone dungeons or anything like that, and probably more like just like a harder tier like nightmare or ancestral dungeon type boss mob instead. Next thing I wanted to take a very brief look at and show you more than anything so you can start playing around with it yourselves is there are some Diablo 4 like skill tree builders out there. So if you want to start pre-planning your build now, whether it be for the Server Slam weekend or whether it be for the launch of the game, which is coming in 3 weeks now, roughly, that's crazy to think of. There are a couple ones. I will link them down in the video description below so you can very easily get to them, but we do have some skill tree calculators here. So we can click on something like say the Sorcerer. Now this one from d4builds.gg, visually, I love it a lot. It looks exactly like what you see in game. So it's actually very easy to use. I'm going to scroll in here just so you guys can see a little bit better. You can hover over, it tells you exactly what everything is, and it works just like the normal skill tree in game. So if I wanted to go ahead and click to add skill points, it'll tell me what level I need to be to get the points wherever they are. I can click and then add levels to everything, and you can work your way down the tree just like in game to set up your character in whatever way you want, and it's going to be a seamless experience to which you'll experience while you're inside of the game. It seems like you can save your builds as well, which will drop into this my build section. And I don't know anything about this meta build section. I don't know how meta these builds will be, where these builds are coming from, but apparently if you want to find some like semi-popular builds that a lot of people are commonly using, you could go to this meta build section and kind of start from there and maybe expand out from what you do from this. I do have another one here that comes from GitHub, and while it doesn't quite look as visually appealing, as you can see, it doesn't have all the images in it. It's laid out in a more like zigzaggy fashion. A lot of zooming in and out is going to be needed for you. It does have roughly the same functionality. So like you can click on things, add and subtract skill points, and then see how much it's going to cost you to get to these different things. But this is something special I saw on this, and I do not know how accurate this is because I don't know where this information came from. From what I can tell, we have not been given this before, but we have a Paragon board right here. And with the Paragon board, you always start, I believe, on the same board for every character, and they have all the skills here for the Paragon board and what you're going to find. And then they have, if I scroll over here and try to bring it up for you, the additional Paragon boards. So this one was for Barbarian. We have Bonebreaker board, Flawless Technique board, Warbringer, and Weapons Master. And then if you want to start planning out your Paragon board, it looks like it's all here. Again, I don't want to speak to how accurate this is, so take what I'm showing you here with a grain of salt and confirm for yourself. It seems pretty accurate. It has your glyphs. It shows you how big of a size those glyphs can be based on what level they are. It has all of your attributes. It has your rare nodes and your magic node. Like, it has all of this stuff. It's here. So take a look through. I haven't given it a full look through yet because we're still a little while away from Paragon, so I don't feel the need to plan quite yet, but this is awesome. If you want to start doing your building, it looks like you could do it. Hop onto this website right now and take a look and play around. Okay, to kind of round things up here, you guys need to be prepared for the dev live stream coming up 2 days from today, probably tomorrow by the time you see this video and it releases. There is a developer live stream happening, and they're going to be revealing some final need to know information before Diablo 4 launches. And I know some of the things they're specifically going over is some in-game stuff, and maybe even more so like specifics to the new seasons. So you may or may not know know this yet, but when Diablo 4 launches, we are not launching into a season. They wanted to make sure things were fair for people that have early access versus do not have early access. And they also want to use this as an adjustment time to look for any final bugs, any like class imbalances, broken skills, too powerful skills, not powerful enough skills, etc. So that way when they roll into season one's going to be a good and even playing field experience for everybody. What we're expecting to see here is some like good solid information on like what can we expect with season one. Hopefully we'll see roughly when it's going to start. Maybe not an exact date, but roughly when is season one going to start and what can we expect to see from it. And then who knows what other like general information that we may hear we haven't heard before. These live streams are usually pretty long. They're about an hour and a half, and I am going to be restreaming it myself. We'll be doing a live watch together, and I do multi-stream to Twitch, Kick, YouTube, and Twitter. So you can find me in any one of those places. Jump in, we'll watch it together live and comment on some of the interesting things that we see. And then finally, I do have one final comment from Riker here to Force Gaming, Force Strategy channel of something that he said, kind of like poking fun at the fact that like the developers will oftentimes in many games and kind of like almost alluded to here in Diablo is like they'll see something that they think is slightly overpowered or slightly underpowered, and then they'll nerf it and they'll bring it back and then they'll nerf it again, and it can make for a very inconsistent player experience. I think Riker probably has decent insight on their thoughts on this from conversations he's had, and he's essentially pointing out here that unless something's completely game breaking, like immensely broken, things that have to do with like being slightly overpowered or underpowered, like those types of things are probably not going to see changes within the seasons. The seasons, remember, they last about 3 months per season. We're expecting to see about 4 per year. And what they'll do is they'll take note of all of those changes that need to happen. They'll let them ride out throughout the season that you're in. So that way your character that you're building doesn't get changed in any way. You spend a lot of times, a lot of hours on these characters. They don't want to change it under your feet. But the next season is when you'll see those changes. And that's just something that they want to do to make sure they give that player consistency and not make you feel like you're always having the rug pulled out from under you or too many things are changing as you're going through and playing the game. So that's all I have for you for today. If you're enjoying the Diablo 4 news and conversation that we're having here, please make sure you click the like button on this video. Drop me a comment down below. Let me know what pieces of news that you found interesting in today's news topics, what information that you may have that I haven't seen or that you would like me to cover. And if you're not already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys in the next one.